California's governor has signed legislation to change the state's sex offender law for engaging with minors. Judges now have expanded power on whether someone should be listed as a sex offender. Supporters say the measure ends discrimination against same-sex attracted young people. A new film on Netflix is drawing intense backlash for its sexualized depictions of young girls, leading several GOP lawmakers to call on the Justice Department to investigate. Cuties, which follows the story of an 11-year-old girl from Senegal torn between peer pressure and following her family's traditional Muslim values, has drawn criticism and concern over its use of overtly sexual dance routines and language. Joining me now on Skype to talk more about the movie is Melissa Henson, program director at the Parents Television Council, and Haley McNamara, vice president and director of the International Center on Sexual Exploitation. Thank you both for being here. We really appreciate it. Melissa, both Netflix and the film's female director defend Cuties, saying it's a social commentary against the sexualization of young children. What's your view on that?
Yeah, clearly there is an element of that in this film. But unfortunately, in critiquing the sexualization of female children, this film does exactly that. I think it would have been possible to powerfully communicate that message without also, in the process, doing what it amounts to exploiting these young actresses.
Haley, what about you? Your impressions of the film and the manner in which it makes its points?
Absolutely. I agree with Melissa. You know, really, there might be an intent in the film to critique this, but it does still at the same time hypersexualize the young actresses, which in fact actually normalizes the sexualization of children, which is highly problematic at a time when child sexual abuse is such a pandemic in our country and around the world. And it also is it's sending a message of self-objectification, which we know by research contributes to eating disorders, depression, vulnerability to exploitation, and more. So while the intent was maybe to be critical, just in actuality, they still sexually hypersexualized these young women.
Yeah, Melissa, this next question is for you. What's your concern for these young actresses in the film? And in your opinion, have they themselves been exploited by the film and its marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I would say that the marketing is probably the least problematic aspect. I mean, I know there was a huge controversy when the movie art for this movie was first released about a month ago, and Netflix changed the movie art, and they said, "We're sorry, this didn't represent the intent of the filmmakers," but it did actually. The original poster, as problematic as it was a much more honest representation of what this movie is about and what a viewer is going to see than the art that they changed it to. This is a highly sexualized film that really puts these young girls' bodies on display, and that is terribly troubling. The first half of the movie was probably PG-13 and was probably a pretty reasonable critique of a sexualized media culture. But the second half of the movie gets very dark very quickly. It gets very explicit very quickly. So this 11-year-old girl, Amy, is shown pulling down her pants and underpants in order to take a picture of her privates to post online. They show these girls doing highly sexualized dance moves. In one scene, 11-year-old girl's breast is exposed, and you cannot tell me that there are not predators out there who haven't already taken screen grabs of this child and are circulating it on the dark web. These children have been left vulnerable, and they've been exploited in the pursuit of this film.
Yeah, it is very disturbing. Haley, this next question is for you. Cuties debuted at the Sundance Film Festival earlier this year under the title McNamara's, but now has a much broader reach on Netflix. Let's talk about that for a moment, about the global problem of child sexual exploitation.
Yes, I mean, I think that Netflix has really become socially irresponsible by giving this film such a large platform. And it is true that child sexual abuse is an international crisis and problem. And even during this COVID era, as children are spending more time at home and alone, they've actually in many ways become more vulnerable to grooming because of being online and living in this hypersexualized world. And so we also have concerns that this film, Cuties, can be used actually by predators to help groom young girls, telling them that this is how young girls act, this is how they dance, maybe encouraging young girls to imitate the film in the process of grooming them for abuse online as well. So it certainly is a concern that it has such a wide audience at this stage.
Haley, quickly, what actions would you like to see Netflix take?
We would like Netflix to, at a minimum, remove the gratuitously sexualized scenes from this film, or if they are not able to do that, to remove the film.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Thanks, the both of you. Melissa Henson, Program Director at the Parents Television Council, and Haley McNamara, Vice President and Director of the International Center on Sexual Exploitation. Thanks again.
Thank you.